Hi, my name's Akshaya.
I'm Joanne,
And I'm Tanisha. This is Behind the Screens.
and today's episode is
Communication in Catan. Sorry.
Yay! Okay, we're not gonna talk about the game, guys, but we're just gonna play it and we're gonna talk about communication, obviously.
I
Okay.
hate Catan.
Low-key, I'm just gonna play I'm not actually usually I get
yeah,
really
we're just
defensive, but
yeah, she gets very competitive.
okay, whatever.
Communication. Should we define it
Communication.
as we always do? How would I define
Communication.
it?
Wait, hold on. Let me
How
pull up
would
the
anyone like
things.
to go first?
Wait, I don't feel like I have a definition for it, but what
Wait,
I
I don't
thought
think we
of
need to
was
define it. Yeah.
yeah, it's the other day I was asked what the most important thing I find in a friendship is, and I said
Hmm.
communication because I feel like if you are able to communicate, you are able, it goes with a lot of things like honesty and empathy. And so I feel like communication is like the underlying thing of all those things. And like one big part of communication is like with everybody like realizing when you should be communicating, like for friendships. Like I guess we'll start with like that topic of like being a friend and like communicating early. Like, if someone comes to you with something and is like confiding in you, like you want to have empathy and like understand where they're coming from, but also like not try to diminish what they're saying. So like having good communication is just like knowing when to pitch in and like offer support or just like communicate versus just like being a listener, you know?
Like, I feel like, especially with college now, like, this has been especially relevant because, like, most of your friends, if not all of them, are like you're speaking with them like over the phone and stuff. So it's really important to keep like open communication to make sure that you like are still maintaining those relationships. And so like I feel like now it's especially not just like having those sort of deep conversations and like supporting them and like offering advice and also like making sure you're like being honest if they made you upset. It's also just like making sure you're actually talking to them in the first place and you're not just like fading that.
Yeah, wait, I think that's also a really big deal. It's like people realize that they communicate differently. Like some people like would rather only FaceTime like to communicate when they're in college, or like some people like to text all the time. But also like you should figure out like I get everybody has their different ways that they like to stay in touch with people. And like it's important to recognize that, but also like be able to communicate like if it's making you feel a type of way.
Yeah.
Like I know people who I have like low maintenance friendships with, but that's like just how we do it best. And like the friendship doesn't change whenever we call each other or text each other. Like it's just that's how it is. But then there's some people who I like text like every single day. And like that's just how their relationship is. And so I feel like if it's really bothering you that some person is not like responding to you in type of way, like it's not that they're trying to like ignore you or something. It's just like maybe that they have a different like communication style. And like if it's bothering you, then you should like say something about it. Like I really don't like the idea of like bottling things up, especially if you're upset, like, or even if you're not upset, but you're like worried about something. Like, it's very, this is like what we're talking about with overthinking. It's like if you're thinking about something, just like really be open about it and say it because, like, even if they're going to be like, yeah, whatever, I wasn't even thinking about it, like, that would lift it off of your chest and like make you feel better.
And I feel like a big thing, I think I'm still talking about college, but it's like being able to compromise, you know? Because it doesn't have to be like you have to do it exactly the way the other person wants it, or like the other person just has to deal with the fact that this is how you like doing it. It's about like finding some middle ground and seeing like ways where you can do what you want and then they like while also doing what they want, you know? Like Joanne was saying, like some people prefer FaceTiming a lot more than texting. I think I would say I'm low-key that kind of person because I just feel like I just like having conversations over call more because like I can actually see the person and like hear their tone and like mannerisms and body language and stuff. So it and like but like that also doesn't mean like with all of my friends I call them like every single night and stuff because obviously like in college you get busy, but it's like there's still some compromise where it's like every once in a while we'll still call and talk and that but like we'll also like text because that's more convenient and some people might prefer that because of how convenient it is.
Also, by the way, the screen share is me. I'm screen sharing. So if you're watching it, you're playing Catan with me.
I guess like we probably already said this, but I feel like the main reason why communication is important is because like you can't really have like a relationship with someone if you don't have that. You know, like if you're not talking or like you're not expressing how you feel and stuff, I feel like that's not necessarily like a true friendship in my eyes, just because it's like I want to be friends with people that like I feel like I can say anything with them, or like I feel like I can express like good and bad feelings without feeling judged or feeling like I won't be listened to, you know? So like I feel personally, I think communication is like the main thing that any sort of relationship or friendship is built upon. I was gonna go into closure.
I would say closure is like when you're having like an argument with someone, or like you have a falling out with someone, or like you don't really know where you stand anymore. And like communication is where that comes in. It's like you don't want to like leave on bad terms unless you do. Like unless you do want to leave the relationship on bad terms. Like the whole point of closure is to like mature communication and like conversation so that like you know where you stand. And also like I'm only talking about closure with the aspect of communication, but like closure in itself is just supposed to like for me, I like having closure, I guess, because
Mhm.
then I don't have, like overthink things. Like I know what the other person is thinking, you know? Like they actually like are able to communicate how they're feeling in the very end. And I don't have to like hear things from other people because like usually closure is like you leave things on good terms.
I think in the same way closure is important for maintaining a relationship, it's really important for ending a relationship because like how Joanne was saying before, making sure you end on good terms is low key like pretty important. I know it's definitely easier when it's just like, oh, like this person did me wrong, I'm never gonna talk to them again. But I just like I feel like it's always better just to end on good terms because it makes you and like the other person feel better. And I don't know, for me personally, it's just like I like knowing that there aren't any like I don't know, I guess like loose ends, I guess, or it's just like everything in my life. Like I don't have to like worry about another person. Like I feel like I just worry a lot about making sure like I'm good with everyone, like there's nothing going on or like there's nothing that's unresolved and stuff. And I think like when I say like ending things like on a good note, is that what I said? Something like that. And like ending like well, even though you guys had a disagreement, both of you guys have to like it. Both of you guys have to be ending things on a good note. Because like it's also like it shouldn't just be like you got what you wanted out of the conversation, but then the other person didn't. And I feel like a lot of the times when you're usually having a falling out with the person, it's not always like one person did everything wrong, the other person was like completely the victim. I'm sure there are scenarios where that happened, but it's also just like usually something happened. Maybe what someone did was worse than what the other person did, but at the end of the day, it was still like both of you guys did something wrong, but it shouldn't just be like you're getting an apology out of someone, but then you're not going to apologize for what you did wrong. Both of you guys should like hold yourself accountable. And also like when I say like ending things on a good note, that doesn't mean you guys have to be friendly or you have to stay friends and stuff like that, but it can be like I like any problem I had with you now is resolved, but I don't need to be friends with you, you know, like you can still not be friends while ending things on a good note.
I was gonna say, I feel like closure is like something that's not like necessary. So a lot of people will skip it because it's not like I feel like communication is a lot more like everyone knows like that's a skill you need to have in a friendship. But I feel like closure isn't like super popularized. That's like kind of weird to say. But I feel like at the end of the day, it just gives like people more peace of mind if you have closure.
Mhm.
Like I just it's like a thing that like I don't understand why someone wouldn't do. Like why would you not get closure if you could get closure? Like obviously it's a little bit more effort, but at the end of the day, like you'll be less anxious. I feel like it's like necessary, even though it's like technically not.
Yeah, I also think that that just comes with like maturity, and a lot of people don't feel like they need closure because they like it won't be on their mind anymore, and they're just like, okay, like this is over, like I'm not going to talk about it. But I feel like closure is especially important for those people who like will continue to talk about it because like if you had closure, then you wouldn't feel a need to like bring up these people in bad situations. But if you're the type of person who's like, yeah, we like ended up on terms, but like there's no reason for me to like hash it up again because like this is just part of my past. Like that's also just like a level of maturity, I feel like. And I guess if you're that type of person, then you don't feel a need to technically like have that full closure. But like a lot of people do, which is why like I don't know, it's just like also important to have that line of communication open, like to know that you can talk to someone if you're feeling a type of way or like they can talk to you is really important. And so it's just like having that line open, like whether you're friends or not, like that's like in the same way where I like friendships where communication is like a really big deal. Like I want to be the type of friend who has like an open line of communication where someone can talk to me about something that they're like feeling is an issue, you know? Yeah, I feel like we should move on from closure.
Rumors and
Thanks.
communication when you don't communicate with your friends about when you're upset and then you start talking with other people, spreading rumors, that's bad. Big lesson of the day. Literally what I just said. That's what it is. I feel like what I've seen is that like when you have I feel like this is especially when you're younger. Like I'm not unk or anything, but I'm just saying like before, like in high school and stuff, I feel like what I saw was that a lot of people usually, when they had a problem with someone, they would talk about it with someone else. And I guess like it's not obvious, like it's not everyone's intention to like spread rumors about someone, but it's like when you tell another person, like there are so many cases where like that person will tell someone else because like, oh my God, like they're beefing now, they're fighting, or like look at what this person did. And then it just spreads more rumors. And then like it puts like you in the spotlight and it might like put like the other person in a negative light. And like especially like if you're doing it on purpose where like you're intentionally spreading rumors and then like you're trying to get everybody to dislike this person because like yeah, maybe they did something wrong or like they did you dirty and stuff. But it's just like that's never the solution. I feel like it'll never actually make you feel better. Like like any satisfaction you could have gotten from like making everybody dislike this person won't make you feel better than just like talking with a person and being like, you low-key did me dirty. I didn't like that. I got hurt. Can you apologize? You know? Like it's just like easy. It's so much easier. I feel like that's like the big thing. It's so much easier to tell everybody else and stuff, but it's just like it'll never actually solve your problems unless like you would go to the person. That's a big thing. You shouldn't like take the easier way out.
Yeah, it's definitely like a kind of like a middle school problem to have because like it's so easy to just go to the next person you're friends with or the next person you see and just like make up some story or exaggerate how something went down. And like what I was thinking of with the rumors is also like, especially when you're in like a new place, like if you're in college, for example, and like you may have had like issues with people from like your hometown or something. And I guess it's like not a rumor, but it's just like hard to break out of like your hometown. Okay, there's two sides to this because first of all, I understand people who like want to like disassociate from like where they're from and like how they like lived life before college, because it's like a fresh start basically. But at the same time, like it's not like you get to re okay, you get to reinvent yourself, but it's not like you are changing who you are and you get to like lie about your past or you forget about your past or something like that. You know, it's like, I feel like it's a place for growth and like for rumors, like about people that you know, like for example, like let's say I know someone I met here and like I heard something about like what they did like in high school. Like I am not going to judge them for something they did or who they were in high school, especially if like that's not who they're trying to be anymore, you know? And it's like communication is like, okay, like maybe I heard this and like maybe I'll talk to them about it and like figure out what they have to say because like why would I just let it sit in my mind when that's none of my business when I could just like be upfront about it. Like that's how I feel about communication. It's just like why would you let it fester when like you can be straight up and like be honest and stuff. So that's what I thought of with communication. I mean, rumors, sorry. Okay, basically, the thing we wrote down was communicating to old friends, like, versus new friends. And what I thought about was, like, some people are, like, get nervous to talk about issues with the friends that they've just become friends with because they don't want anything to, like, jeopardize where that friendship is going. And, like, that's why you just kind of, like, let things slide because you're like, oh, like, usually I would take an issue with this, but, like, we're not super close. And so I'm just, like, not going to bring it up, you know? And, that's a really hard, like, position to be in because, like, it's understandable how like you really want to be friends and like you don't want to like put any pressure on the situation and especially like give a bad impression of yourself. But also like that's important to think about if you want this to be a long-term friendship. Like if this is something that's bothering you now, like what's to say like it's not going to bother you later on? And like that should like really let you think about if this friendship is something that you're really serious about also. And you're not just doing it for the sake of like, and it's like hard also in college because like you just like want to make friends, but like you think about it as in like you're not just doing this to like make a friend, but like you actually enjoy the friendship.
And then talking about communication, like long distance friendships. I think like now that like we've had our first semester, I know it's obvious that it's super important, but I feel like it's like extra, like more important than you actually think it is because, or not even just like, I guess like communication, but also just like texting or like FaceTiming or talking of some kind because like, and it's like, it's definitely like a two-way street because like if I don't put an effort to communicate with like, for example, you guys, then like you guys would just end up like talking all the time and I wouldn't be involved. So I'm saying like it's definitely a two-way street that like the only way your friendship will last is if you both want it to, if you both put in effort. Even with like people, like the three of us text in a group chat, but even with people I text on like PM, like I'll just like I'll stop texting if I feel like I'm the only one texting, or they'll stop texting if they feel like they're the only one texting. So it's definitely like you both need to put in effort to actually like ask each other for updates. And like sometimes it's like sometimes just like a oh like miss you or like how are you doing text like goes a long way because like I know that like that seems kind of like small talk, but just like saying like hey like miss you or something will like start a whole conversation sometimes, or like it'll start a FaceTime or like blah blah blah. So like just texting so that they know that like you're thinking of them will go a long way. But yeah, I guess like that's part of communication in those friendships because like you want to like obviously in normal friendships you want to say how you're feeling, but I feel like in those ones you want to like say even more because you don't see each other, so it's really hard to know how you guys feel, but it's really important that they know that like you're like thinking of them.
Also, like, it's never that difficult to sort of start a conversation. You know, like what Tanisha was saying, where it's like just saying like, oh, like how are you doing and stuff. I feel like especially because we're in college, it's a little bit different, but it's like we're always doing something, you know, like even if it's just like going to class or doing work, like I know I've definitely been busy with work and stuff like that, but it's like you can still find something to talk about. Like I'm sure I could talk about my classes or like the weather. The weather's been bad here, guys. You know, like it's really not that hard to like have some sort of conversation. And I feel like if it's like you haven't talked to this person in a while, it might be awkward at first, but as you start like building on that conversation, doing that small talk, like if you really tried, like you could really like start like talking with them again and it can be like how it was before if you guys were like really close, or you guys can get close if you guys weren't close before but you want to keep them as a friend.
When we go back home, I don't like love when people just like talk about their college life. I really like when it feels like we're like in the older days again, like before we went to college, because that way it feels more like real, like authentic. Like I'd rather get that small talk over with like on text, on FaceTime, because like I want when I'm in college, I want to hear about your guys' college life and I want you guys to hear about my college life. But when we're back, I want it to feel like we're back again. I want it to feel like home again. You know what I mean? Um, but I
Mhm.
would say it's also really easy, like I think it's really easy to just like text. I feel like it's really, really easy for us because we have a group chat. So like anyone will text and then like anyone will respond later. But like that's also easy on PM. You can just text like a summary of your day, but it's a little harder on actually either way, it needs to just be like everyone is putting in effort because like I can start texting someone about my day, but then if I feel like I'm just spamming them with text, I'm just gonna stop texting them. And like the same thing goes even with our group chat, but we will just like text like random updates throughout the day. So it's really just like even if it's not like a full cohesive conversation, as long as you're going back and forth like somewhat often, like everyone has some time in their day to text. Even if people say like I'm the busiest person ever, like you have time, you have 10 seconds to text, like don't lie. So yeah. Yeah. So we're gonna end by just everyone gives like rapid fire advice on communication. Akshaya, you can start.
My piece of advice is never take the easier way out. I know I probably didn't, I don't think I said anything about like college and stuff, but I feel like no matter what, like if this is somebody that you like really like whether it's with like new friends or old friends, if something happened where like you were low-key upset or like you think something's wrong, I feel like never be afraid to voice your opinion and say how you were upset. And then I think it's just like based on how their reaction, then decide whether you want to continue the friendship or not, you know? It shouldn't just be like, if this happened, I'm done. I feel like that's something I've low-key heard a lot recently, where it's just like three strikes you're out, something like that. And I feel like that's not sustainable if you want to have a real friendship. So it should just be more like talk with them first, see how they react. If they don't react that well or like that maturely, then end things. But don't take the easy way out and immediately just cut them off for no reason. Or I guess for a reason, but like without trying.
I guess for me, it's like just brain dump, you know?
Just what?
Just brain dump. Like, say whatever, and like you said, I'm like bottling things up. So, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because
Is that all?
relevant to like what we were talking about, like in the last one, or like if anything is bothering you, like say good or bad, because then you get like a gauge of like how the other person is feeling too.
My advice is just like if you're in an argument and you need to communicate, don't antagonize. So like if you use an I statement, try not to like put the blame on them. Just make it clear that like you're talking about how you feel and like your feelings are valid no matter what. So like it's not like a right or wrong thing a lot of time. It's just like trying to apologize if you made someone feel bad or vice versa. That was it. Okay, that's it, guys. Follow the Instagram at behind the screens _podcast. Same on TikTok. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's it. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching and listening and being here. Yeah, that's all. Peace. Who's winning right now? Oh, you guys are winning per usual. Bye.